9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is going on? What is going on? Got my man, one man gang in the building himself, Lorenzo Alexander. Football is officially back tonight, and this is the debut of the Pressure Fund Show. Lorenzo, what is going on, man?
Hey, we're doing good, man. You know, just out here in Phoenix right now. Actually, a dog trainer just left. We got a puppy this week, and so he was over here coaching us up, the whole family, as far as how to make sure that we raise our puppy the right way, so that she turns out to be a good dog.
I hope so, man.
Yeah.
So, Zoe, a lot happened this week. Football is officially back tonight, and we see it. It's on the field. It's on our TV screens. But before we get into the big Week 1 matchup, the Bills versus Jets, we really want to talk about Trey White and his extension really quickly. This young man got paid, and rightfully so. He's been a top corner in this game since he's come in to the league. Can you give us an insight on who Trey White is?
Trey is who you see what you get. I mean, he does a great job, I think, interacting with people on social media, and you see the whole Goalie Academy. You see his kids and his family on there as well, and that's truly who he is. At his core, he's all about family. He's all about his community, and obviously this contract extension that he just earned is going to allow him to do so many things in his community back in Louisiana with his family. And so I'm just proud of what he's been able to accomplish. You know, he was a young man that came in, drafted 3 years ago now, and just has done a great job of perfecting his craft, being a professional and growing every single year, not really resting on what he did the year prior. And so I'm proud of Trey. He's grown up so much, and it's really just been cool to be a part of that process. And the little small part that I had is helping him, kind of figure out this league. But he's going to be one of the great ones for a long time. And it's going to be one of those guys that will be able, I think, probably the next, 4 or 5 years, people will start talking about Hall of Fame caliber talent.
Yeah, and it's funny because, he mentioned multiple times when signing this contract and before it, that he wanted to help employ his people, employ his family, and help his family out. And he got so emotional, and it was a tearjerker. It was great to see him get so emotional, talk about his parents and breaking the cycle. And not only is it just good for him because of his work ethic, but also just to motivate younger kids out of his area to do the same thing.
And that's what I plan for him to do. I mean, obviously it's generational wealth. So his kids will be great. And now he's able to set up a structure in his community with his family as far as being able to provide and really create a legacy that's going to long outlast him as well as his kids, as well as his community. And so whether that is opening up businesses in his hometown, funding scholarships, just different ways that I know he's going to impact not only his own life and his own family, but the people that are from his hometown as well. So I'm excited for him, but it just shows you how hard work pays off, and how when you're privileged the way he's been, that you're not just worried about yourself, but you're worried about the people around you as well and improving their lives I think in a very productive way.
Yeah, most definitely. I can't disagree that. I'm so happy for the young man that he got his contract, and as you used the key word was earned, because he earned it every step of the way. If you know the Trey White story. Another thing that happened this week before we get to the big game is the Bills pick captains. Now, this is an honor that you have held this honor plenty of times, and there was some questioning of the couple of the guys who were selected as captains. And I just want you to break down how the captain process selected, why they're selected, and kind of what the other duties are besides just being a good player on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is obviously it's voted by the players. And so I think a lot of guys really cherish this one more than anything else because a lot of times coach can appoint guys like leadership council, but this is something that the group, offense, defense, and special teams guys vote on. And so it's definitely a huge honor to be associated or earn that right to be called a captain. And so I know, you look at the captains list, you kind of go, okay, Tremaine makes sense, Jordan Poyer, Josh Allen, Reed Ferguson. Why is Reed Ferguson the captain? I think him and Andre Roberts were the two special teams captains. And if you don't know anything about Reed, he is a great human being. Obviously, he's a long snapper and he just has to snap, and people don't really I think give enough respect to that craft. I would just ask anybody to put your head between your legs, try to snap a ball on point, 8 yards back, speed, location. When you have 200-300 pounders on over top of you, to try to do that as well as punt and then try to go cover a kick. But beyond what he's able to do on the field and the people that are, him performing his job to the highest ability, he's also a great teammate. I mean, we have meetings, special teams meetings, extra meetings during the week. He's in there communicating, helping young guys, getting them to understand how to watch film. And these are core guys, how to cover, what are the protections going to be? Communicating like last year was Jaquan Johnson, communicating with a young PP as far as how he sees things when we're on the punt team. And so all those little things that you don't see behind the scenes is what leads to Reed being a captain. He's a huge man of faith, a great character guy. And so he's also helping build men in that locker room. And I think people respect who he is and appreciate what he brings to the team. And like anybody else, even when I was there, I don't think Reed would have ever done this, but I would have received it well if Reed would have came to me and said, "Hey, Zoe, I need more from you. I need you to step up, make a play for us on special teams." And I would have received it very well, even though I was a captain. I'm the veteran because of who he is and what I've seen him be day to day in that locker room.
No, definitely. Like I said, I think people get misconstrued. You automatically think when you think of captains that, it has to be every top player on the team, and it's not.
Yeah, throw that out. It's not the highest paid. It's not the most productive. It's guys that show up and are consistent and have leadership qualities. And just because you're a great football player or you make a lot of money doesn't make you a leader. And I think guys are able to see that, in locker rooms.
Yeah, most definitely. But hey, Zoe, we're here. We're about 72 hours away from, this team hitting the field. And what is it like? Because like I said, I can't answer this question. All right. What is it like preparing for a week 1 game, but then also actually getting on the field? Like, you first step out there.
Yeah, it's obviously a very exciting time, and it's going to mean different things for different guys. Obviously a rookie, a guy that's finally getting a chance to go out there. His whole emotional feelings right now is probably all over the board, just depending on who you are. A veteran like me, I'm excited about it, but I know what to expect. And so my mindset is a little bit different as far as the things that I'm focusing on. But it's exhilarating. It's something that you can never get accustomed to or get used to because it's so exciting. It's so unique every single year to be able to prepare it and make a team and then run out of the tunnel. Obviously, it's going to be very different this year with COVID and how that's impacted training camp, no preseason games, obviously not having Bills Mafia in the stadium to cheer us on, even though I know we're going to still feel their energy from what they're going to do at their houses and watching the games. So that's going to be unique. And I really can't speak to that aspect of it. But, guys, I know they had a great week of practice. Just going inside of the week, you break things down. Wednesday is first, second down. Thursday is you go over your third down personnel, and then Friday you clean everything up and do some of your short yardage goal line stuff as well as red zone. And so that week is broken down like that from an offensive defense perspective. And I know these guys are going to be ready. I've seen it for the last 3 years as far as how they prepare. They've added some great pieces to that team, and so I expect them to go out and show out well because I know Sean has prepared them with training camp as best as he can to go out there and play physical, play fast, and play fundamental football.
Yeah, you know what? And you gotta only believe that not only for the Bills, but both teams and all teams that's gonna lace it up this Sunday, that it's such a relief just to get back to some type of normalcy. Yeah. After having, pretty much your offseason is almost stripped away essentially by this COVID-ridden spring and summer. So you gotta imagine both teams are gonna be excited. Do you think that possibly because this is the first thing in normalcy, because we have no preseason games to lace up with, that either team could come out a little too high? Is there a way that you can get too jumpy?
Yeah, obviously you're always going to be excited about coming out and playing football for the first time. But even preseason games don't really replicate an actual game that's going to count on your record and is going to set you up to obviously accomplish your goals of getting to the playoffs. And so you're always going to have a little bit of that. I think it's going to favor the more veteran team, guys that have been around the league a little bit more, that are going to be depending on guys that have been there, that have felt that that energy. And even though they won't be fans in the stands, I just know because things are on the line now, things actually matter as far as your record, that guys' emotions, guys' senses are going to be heightened, and guys are going to be ready to go out there and just fly around and ratchet it up even a notch from what you see in practice, because now things are live. And so it's going to be a different feel, but I think it's going to go to the veteran team, guys that have some continuity. Obviously, I think that favors the Bills in this week's matchup, but knowing at least the defense coordinator and Greg Williams playing for them, I know the defense for the Jets are going to be ready to come out and play fast. And you think about Le'Veon Bell as well, him having a chip on his shoulder, not having a productive year to his standards last year. So they're going to be ready to come out. Sam Darnold the same way, being sick early. So they're going to be having a lot of energy and want something to prove and really establish themselves in the AFC East, because right now when you look around, and it seems like we're living in an alternate universe right now, the Buffalo Bills are the favorites, right? They're the favorites to win this division. And so the Jets are saying, hold on, we got our pieces. And so they're going to come out first week and try to set a standard to say, hey, it's not that easy. We're here too. And actually last year we had you guys beat. We fell in the fourth quarter, but we can play with y'all. We can compete with y'all. We've seen y'all. In a division game, anything can happen.
Right. And that's funny because that's one of the questions I really wanted to ask you tonight was, is there a difference preparing for an out-of-conference game compared to a division rival? Is it harder to prepare? Is it easier to prepare? Is there a difference?
Yeah, there's a difference. I mean, there's just more familiarity. And so I don't know if that makes it easier or harder, because you can say, well, it's easier because I know the guys. I know their tendencies. I know their technique. I know how I can beat them. I know what worked last time. But it also can be harder, like in the sense of, what's going to work, or you get confident. And so you feel like you already know them and you don't prepare as well because, we've been here before. I played the Jets. They're not the same team they were last week or last year, or they're the same team as last week or last year. And you get a sense of comfort because you've been there. So you definitely have to fight that feeling and urge, making sure that you prepare for them, especially week one, which I don't think will be an issue. But the coaches and from schematic standpoint, everybody kind of knows what people like to do. You can kind of self-scout and do your own thing, but at the end of the day, you have a foundation that you lean on week to week. And obviously both coordinators and head coaches have those tendencies.
Right. And you know what? Give us a little insight on Coach McDermott, because I love watching Coach McDermott's press conferences because he doesn't let out too much.
No, he keeps stuff close to the vest, and he's gotten better, I think, with his nerves over the years. I think his first year when he was a head coach, just like with anybody or any player doing something for the first time, you're a little bit more nervous. You're not quite sure of who you are and what you're doing, or if you're doing the right thing. And as you have success and you have great people around you helping you, I think Sean has definitely matured as a head coach and has really become more confident in his process and what he wants to do, because it has been tied to so much success. And looking at when he got there in 2017 and where that organization now is 4 years later, it's in a much better and brighter place. So I look forward to seeing him on the sideline as well. I know he's a competitor. Obviously, he played at William & Mary. Wasn't good enough to play in the pros level, but has been around. But he still approaches that fire. You can see it right now in his face. He's a competitor at heart, a big-time wrestler. And so he's going to be just as fired up as anybody else to get out there and really show what this team can do and hopefully come out on top on Sunday.
Right. Now, obviously, once again, this is a different offseason. You've been with Coach McDermott for his this is his this is his first home opener with the Bills. He's 2-1. He's 2-1. What is he normally preaching to the guys? Is it the K-Calm?
Right. Yeah. So his biggest thing is, and he says this all the time, so it's not like he just says this to the media, but it's trust the process. And he has a process that he's implemented, especially the first 4 weeks. The first 4 weeks, especially in this year, because you don't even have a preseason to maybe look at that third preseason game. So you don't have tendencies. You don't have any like cool little stats to kind of help you as a player to maybe make a play. And so you really have to trust your fundamentals. Everything is about blocking, tackling, getting off blocks, communicating, just those real simple things. Your first step, staying in your gap, because at the end of the day, those are the things that beat you. Everybody's talented. Everybody has a great scheme. But when you start having a breakdown or deteriorating in your fundamentals, that leads to penalties, that leads to turnovers, that leads to just negative plays, which then gives the other team an opportunity to take advantage and win. And so these first 4 weeks is really going to be all about who's going to be the best tackling team, who's going to be the best team fundamentally sound, who's going to be the most disciplined team, not having these stupid penalties, until teams really start having an archive of film that you can go in and start dissecting, which is normally a 4-game culmination of your last 4 games that you can really start breaking down and figuring out tendencies by personnel, by people that are in the game, where they're lined up, splits, and all those type of things. And so right now, these first couple of weeks, especially the opener, is all going to be about technique, communicating, understanding what you got to do, and executing at a high level.
And, it's funny because you always hear them say nowadays, especially with, I think I would say probably started about 6-7 years ago, where people really, really limited their starters in preseason, that the first quarter of the season is your preseason, and everything after that is when your season really begins, and you don't want to climb. You don't want to dig yourself too far into the hole.
Yeah, and that's true. I used to always think of it, putting money in the bank early. You obviously in the NFL, you have to win in November, December to ultimately get to where you want to go. But if you can stack games early and start separating yourself early, those games are still meaningful, but it's not as stressful. You don't have those must wins like I've had a couple of times in my career where you have to pretty much go, 5-3 or 6-2 to close out a season to give yourself a shot because your first half was so bad. And so what you want to do when you have those opportunities early, especially with this talent that's on this Bills roster, you want to take advantage. It ain't no time to kind of warm up and, like you said, have these first 4 games to be your preseason and kind of get a filler. You got to come out of this cannon hot and take advantage of every single game that you possibly can and stack these games early and, be 6-2 at the halfway point. And then you don't have that same type of pressure on you at the end of the season that you feel like every single game is a must win, because that can be exhausting. And then it kind of deteriorates you as you get to the playoffs. And so that's the mindset these guys want to have is, win early, finish strong, and put themselves in a great place to make a playoff run.
Okay, so obviously we know this is out of the last 4 years. This is the 3rd time that the Bills are going to be opening up against the Jets, and they've 2-0 in those first 2 games already. And like you said, last year was a slow start. So obviously we remember the offense getting off to, I think it was 4 first half turnovers. Defense kind of held it together, and then the offense, it got steam, it got rolling in the second half, and they pulled it together. What does the Bills have to do coming into this game to make sure they're not getting off that slow start and to kind of take it to them?
Well, you definitely don't want to have a repeat of last year as far as starting slow on offense. You definitely want to come out. Obviously, you've added pieces. You added Stephon Diggs in the offseason, and you add him to a Cole Beasley. You add him to a John Brown, Singletary, a Moss. And thank goodness this guy, C.J. Mosley, decided to opt out, because that dude is a monster. And actually, we won that game last year, as you show in this film, because he went out, and we're able to start taking advantage of his absence. And so I would say do the same thing, running the ball downhill. You got Moss, you got Singletary, working your play action. And then you got all these weapons. And I didn't even mention, Dawson Knox and what he's going to be able to do. And so I just see that they just have way too much talent. And they're creating way too many mismatches, and then they lose Adams. So they lost CJ and Adams, and now you have all this talent around Josh, and I've heard that he's continued to grow and taking another step. So there's no reason why they don't start fast. And this defense needs to come out, play good sound football, don't give up any big chunks, and then really you want to stop the run. Put it all on Sam Darnold's head, because we know what Le'Veon Bell can do once he gets going. So I know what they're going to do. They're going to try to stop the run first, eliminate him, and put it on Sam Darnold and make him have to beat you. And with the guys that we have on the outside right now, I don't really think that's going to be the best way about going about it, even though they have Crowder and a couple of other guys that can catch the ball. I think our guys match up well. So I think the Bills will definitely have the hedge. But talent-wise, this is all going to always, like it always does, comes out to being who's going to execute best, who's going to win that turnover battle, and who's going to take advantage of when you're in the red zone, you can put up touchdowns versus kicking field goals.
Right. And you know what? You mentioned the Mosley and Adams. You know, Greg Williams he's a great defensive coordinator. He's been a good defensive coordinator in this league for a long time. If people remember, before he came to Buffalo, he created that Tennessee Titans defense that went to the Super Bowl before he even mentioned. So he's been a coordinator in this league for a long time and revamped a lot of defenses. How can he overcome the loss of C.J. Mosley and Jamal? You lost both team leaders in two or three parts in the secondary and the linebacking core.
Well, I'll tell you, if you asked, and if he was going to be honest with you, if you asked Greg Williams, could he do it? He'll say, hell yeah. And probably say something, probably say a little worse than that. But just knowing Greg, he's confident. I almost feel like he's cocky sometimes. But that's because he's produced. You just rattled off his resume, you know, from Tennessee to Buffalo, even in Washington to the Saints, doing it here. I mean, everywhere he's been, he's had some pretty solid success defensively. But he's going to have those boys hunting up, ready to play. He's an old school throwback head coach. He's all about physicality, running to the ball, really having that dog mentality, and, you know, kick butt, ask questions later type of coach. And so they're going to come out and play and try to play physical and try to stop the run and try to intimidate guys from a defensive perspective. But I just think that the Bills just have too many weapons, and I think the talent is just a little too much for the Jets to be able to corral them, especially when we talk about not having C.J. Mosley and not having Jamal Adams now. It's just too much to overcome because at some point, talent does transcend scheme, and those two guys are really you know, generational type players when you think about them.
Right. Now, you know what? Speaking about Greg Williams, our offense coordinator has been around too. Brian Dabo has been around the league a long time, and you've had time with him the last 2 years.
Yeah.
What is he usually preaching to his offense? I mean, you have Josh going into year 3. You have 2 young backs this season. You brought your entire offensive line back, and I would say not only did you bring them back, but you found a way to improve on what they did last year when they were already good. And
I mean,
Stephon Diggs.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you know, Brian is all about trying to take advantage of the matchups. I mean, you think about the New England and how they normally play football. They're trying to identify schematically how they can take advantage of you. And you saw it several times last year, whether it was going at a fast tempo, whether it was putting 12 personnel out there with, you know, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, 2 receivers, and making teams go base and then spreading them out, or going small and then coming down and running the ball. Just trying to figure out different ways to get an advantage on you guys or on the opposing team. And so that's what Brian has always done. Obviously, it's all about ball security. It's about, you know, third down conversions. And then ultimately, I think where we started off real slow last year as well is scoring in the red zone and making sure that when we get down there, or when the Bills get down there, obviously I'm still having a hard time transitioning. When the Bills get down there, making sure they punch it in and they're not just, you know, settling for field goals, but really putting these points up, because that does a couple of things. It helps the defense out, it gives you a little bit of a cushion. You don't feel like every single play you hang up by a thread. And then it gives the rushers, you know, Mario Addison, Trent Murphy, Quentin Jefferson, Jerry Hughes, AJ Espinosa. It gives all those guys, Harrison Phillips, a chance to rush the passer. You know, you go up on a team 10, 14 points early. Now you know they feel like they have to pass the ball, and now you can pin your ears back and get after them and take advantage of, you know, maybe a rookie in Mekhi Becton and what he's going to do, and some of those other guys on the offensive line that I feel the Bills personnel up front has an advantage over. So I'm definitely looking to see how that plays out. But if you keep this game close, you have to play everything honest.
Right. And, you know, and Sean McDermott has already alluded to this last year, actually in the offseason. He said he would love to have a couple games where he could sit on the bench and drink some Gatorade.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so rare in the NFL that you blow a team out, or you're in a place to where you feel comfortable enough to like kind of relax and sit back. That when you get them, you cherish them, because it's hard to win this league and the talent is so close. And even when you have, you know, a 14 or 17 point lead, I mean, that thing can evaporate quickly. You know, one big kickoff return for a touchdown, one big bomb. I mean, the talent, the guys in this league is so special that guys are game breakers. So it's rare that you ever have it. And so when you do, I get it. You just want to relax because every week is so stressful.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But, you know, we got a lot of questions in the chat about Le'Veon Bell. And a lot of people want to know, as a defender, what kind of preparation did you have to get ready to go against this guy? Because, I mean, we've seen Le'Veon. He can run out the backfield. He can catch as good as a receiver out the backfield. And he was a top back in this league for a long time, and he has a lot of juice left in him. And like you said, he's extra motivated this season. So what kind of things is Leslie Frazier preaching this week about preparing for Le'Veon? Because this is the guy you played against not only last year, but then when he came into Buffalo from Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is going to be gap integrity. You know, when you think about him as a runner, when he splits out, you know, I definitely have confidence in whether it's Matt or Saran or whoever the nickel may be or safety may be that's covering down on him. I think they can match up well there. But as far as him a runner in the backfield, the guy, he came in shape this year. I think he lost about 10 pounds, and so he's ready to carry the load and really uses explosiveness, his speed, and hit holes. But he's a very patient runner. And so it always goes back to gap integrity and not doing too much and not getting impatient to where you jump out of your gap into somebody else's gap. And then you have possibly Tremaine Edmonds and whoever the D tackle is sitting in the same gap because you thought Le'Veon had went into the A gap. But you have to understand that this week he's such a patient runner. I mean, overly patient to where a lot of times he's just back there kind of bouncing, waiting for somebody to make a mistake or do too much, thinking they know where he's at, and rip it off, and then he hits the gap that you left. And so it's really about gap integrity and then really reestablishing that line. Because he's patient, if you can knock some of these guys back, because this offensive line is not as big as what the Pittsburgh Steelers were, where these are big maulers. You know, everybody's like 340, 330 on the Pittsburgh Steelers. These guys you can actually physically knock back. And then as he's being patient, his feet get stepped on. He gets indecisive in the sense he doesn't know which way to cut because he has his lineman in his back, or you make him cut early and make him be decisive earlier than he wants to be, and then you come down and make a tackle. And then when you tackle, you have to gang tackle. You have to wrap up. I've seen this guy many times drop that shoulder on guys. So when you come in, you got to come in with an attitude, and everybody, the rest of the Sharks, as the Bills calls them, has to be rallying to that ball, hitting him and stripping him, trying to create a turnover as he's trying to, fight for extra yards.
Right. It's funny because I wanted to ask you this question as far as his patience. Now, I've been watching football my entire life, and I can't remember seeing a running back with that much patience behind the line of scrimmage. And I don't remember him running like that at Michigan State.
Right.
As a defender, does that just make you pull your hair out?
It can if guys aren't, if everybody's not doing their job, because I go run through my gap and then he runs somewhere else. You're like, where'd he? Oh, somebody jumped out of their gap, So if everybody is just gap sound and disciplined, and that's why I mentioned earlier, it's all about fundamentals and discipline. At the end of the day, that's what separates guys, especially when you're playing a guy like this. The Bills will be fine. He won't have anywhere to run, and guys will rally to the ball and come and hit him. And I believe that the defensive line has the ability to knock these guys back because this is not the same offensive line. Even though they got Mekhi Becton, who's a big tackle, you're setting the edge versus him. It's not like the guards are, everybody's 340, 350 like he is. And so I just feel like if the Bills D-line get off the ball, knock guys back, penetrate, they can really nullify whatever Le'Veon Bell is going to bring to the game on Sunday.
Right. And there's another guy that you mentioned earlier, Jamison Crowder. Now, if you look at the numbers for Jamison Crowder last year, I thought last year was his best year as a pro. I mean, he was heavily relied on. Jets were decimated with injuries last season, but This guy stayed healthy. He actually ended up 2019 with 122 targets. And in the two games versus Buffalo, I think in opener last year, he had 17 targets versus you guys in the league, like 14 receptions for 99 yards, which obviously 14 receptions for under 100 yards. Obviously you guys didn't let him get much yak.
Yeah. And that's what it is. He works in the slot a lot. A lot of those quick routes inside, working options, getting open. And the biggest thing is tackling the guy. A guy can kind of methodically pass the ball, 4, 5, 7 yards down the field. But most quarterbacks and most coordinators aren't that patient. And so as long as you don't give up, a 60-yard slant route or a 40-yard dig, you can live and die with giving up 6 or 8 yards on a catch as long as you tackle him and get him down. And so that's what guys are going to have to do because you're not going to prevent him from catching everything, even though I think we're going to have some pretty sticky coverage and have an idea based on where he's lined up, the routes that he likes. When he catches the ball, just tackle him, get him down, get up, and then win the next down. And that's oftentimes how you have to play. And that's actually one of the foundational pieces of this defense is not giving up chunk plays, which I believe last year the Bills were in the top, I think, 3 in the league as far as giving up explosion plays. And that's how you lose games. not dinking and dunking and working your way methodically down the field.
Right. So, I mean, Tandon Johnson, he got to strap it up for him on Sunday. But, I mean, this is Tandon going to his third year. And he feels like he's healthy and in the best shape of his career, too. I mean, I think he bulked up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You know, obviously he had a shoulder issue, but Tan has been great. I mean, he's been one of the top, I think, slot corners over the last couple of years. As long as he's out there playing, he's going to definitely bring that nastiness and that physicality to Crowder. And so I'm looking forward to that matchup on Sunday too. So that'd be one of the things that I kind of highlight and kind of watch, as well as how Mekhi Becton does when the Jets have to pass, because Mario Addison, Jerry Hughes, you think about Trent Murphy, guys that are going to be rushing against him, or how they attack him, because he is a rookie, even though he's a high draft pick. I think that's one of the areas, because you are dealing with a younger player, that you can go out there and take advantage of, whether it's beating him one-on-one or running some games, because this offensive line hasn't had a lot of continuity and game experience. Those are the type of things you can take advantage of because of the lack of the preseason, because they haven't done anything quite live yet, because you're not trying to jack a dude's ribs up or shoulders up in practice when you're running games, unlike in a real-life game.
Right. And like you said, you mentioned Sam Darnold earlier. Preparing for him. This is a guy, he's coming to his third year just like Josh, and he wasn't healthy in that first game last year. Sam Darnold has athleticism that we don't even talk about a lot. Yeah, he's a very athletic quarterback. What do you guys kind of prepare for him? What are you expecting to see from him, and what do the Bills have to do to really just kind of hone in and keep him compressed, if you want to call it that?
Yeah, I mean, you just want to keep a guy like that in the pocket as much as you can. When he does get out, he's a guy that's looking to run. He's not looking to necessarily throw like a Russell Wilson. And so you just want to keep him off schedule with pressure. You don't necessarily have to sack him, but putting pressure in his face, making that pocket get smaller, and making him feel like he balls up. Because even though this is his third year, he doesn't have a ton of game experience, because obviously, like last year, he missed a significant part getting sick. And so that kind of has diminished or stunted, I guess is a better word, his development as far as where he probably would like to be at this point in his career. And so if we can keep him thrown off his back foot, keep him uncomfortable and making some inherent throws, hopefully they convert to some turnovers like they've done in the past for us.
Right. And now on our side of the field, we have Josh Allen. Now, I'm kind of wondering, this is the third year, and is this the year where Brian Dabo is going to let him start making the pre-snap reads and changing things and checking things at the line? Because, like I said, this is obviously the time for his progression to start getting into that.
Right.
What are we expecting to see from Josh? He's looked very good in camp. He's looked, actually, his deep ball looks like it's improved from last year, and just looks just very confident.
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting. It's good to hear that his deep ball has improved as well, because I know in years prior, missing on some of those big hits, especially, throwing to Robert or whoever our speeder guy was going out there and just missing. I think that's going to be one of the big differences this year, is being able to hit on some of those deep balls, soften up that defense, obviously leading to more points and field position changes, which will really help us out. And again, Josh has a better understanding, has continuity of the offense, not learning something new. And so as he continues to evolve and has the comfort level to make checks at the line, which he's allowed to do some of that now. They come up to the line with a couple of different options, and based on what they see, safety rotation, he's able to make some calls. He'll continue to progress down that road as this season develops. But it all comes down to how comfortable he is and confident he is, because even though it's his third year, you still don't, if he's not extremely confident in handling those additional responsibilities, which I think he is, you never want to give a guy just because, okay, it's your third year, you should. No, are you ready to handle all of it? But I think he is at that level to where he can start having, a couple of plays to where he can check to, which he's done in the past, at a more higher clip now that he has, going into his third year.
Right. And obviously we have like maybe two more things to talk about, then we'll start wrapping it up here. The Diggs effect. Stephon Diggs, what kind of effect is he going to have on this game? Now, this is something that Greg Williams and the Jets and nobody in the division has had to prepare for in Buffalo. But you do have him. What kind of effect is he going to have on this game? And what effect he's going to have on Beasley and Brown?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to have a monster year. I mean, in my mind, it's going to rotate from week to week. I mean, because it's hard enough to try to figure out how do you stop two guys. Now, they're probably going to pick one based on who's been playing better. I saw Stephon Diggs is one of the top receivers in the league on his own right. Even when he's just by himself. Now you throw in John Brown, you throw in Cole Beasley, you throw in Dawson Knox. Obviously always going to have a package for Isaiah McKenzie, Singletary, Moss, all these guys that can potentially be on the field. It's hard to match up. And so if let's say this week, okay, Steph, you're going to get our number one corner, we're going to double you. Are you really going to leave Cole Beasley one-on-one with a linebacker? Are you really going to leave John Brown by himself without safety help? Because you only can help so many guys. It's only so many places a safety can be. So just going to create a lot of different mismatches that they can take advantage of based on what they're seeing week to week. Because each week, I think coordinators are maybe going to the game, well, hey, guys, John Brown balled last week, so we got to focus on him. Hey, guys, Cole Beasley balled last week. We got to focus. Hey, guys, Stephon Diggs is killing us. So it's only so many guys that you can stop. So they have to pick their poison and then try to live with the rest. And then you even have a young kid like we just saw, Gabriel.
Yeah.
Number 13. He's had an excellent camp. And so he's going to be another X factor if he's able to get up and be active week to week. And so it's just a lot of great talent out there. And I'm really interested to see how it pans out and how the Bills and Dabo kind of game plan and take advantage of what the defense is giving them. And so one week, I think Cole may have 100. Next week, Stephon may have 100. As long as they continue to win, it's not going to be an issue as far as who's getting the ball.
It is a great problem to have. I will say that.
Yeah.
It is a very good problem to have. Not a problem at all. Like you say, you just mentioned, and the rookie Gabe Davis. And one thing we didn't mention is Isaiah McKenzie always seems to make plays against the Jets. That's the week you guys picked him up in 2018.
Yeah, they always have some packages for him. I love Ken's. He's growing on me. He's a little rugrat sometimes, but great dude. Obviously a great competitor. And when he's out there, he brings it. He has that extra dynamic, that speed. And so he was part of the Smurfs. And so I just love the energy and the packages they normally put together when he's out on the field.
No, definitely. But Zoe, I think we covered it all. But before we gotta go, I got to get your 3 keys to the game. What the Bills need to do to go ahead and get this W on Sunday.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about it. Obviously it's the first week. And so there's not a lot of tendencies. You don't know how guys are going to play quite yet. So number one, it comes down to having fundamentally sound football, blocking well, tackling well, executing your scheme, and being disciplined. I think you have to be able to do that in order to give yourself a chance to win the game. I think 2 is win the field position battle. I'm always a special teams guy, and it's always hitting yardage there as far as covering kicks, returning kicks. We got Andre Roberts, one of the top returners in the game. And so winning in that area, because people always want to score points, but then they forget, okay, well, we need a good returner, whether it's punt returner or kickoff returner, to put us in a position that we don't have to feel like we got to drive 80 yards every time we touch the football. And I think Andre gives you that opportunity. And then, Corey has kind of been up and down, but I think he's really going to have a solid year and really bounce back from where he was at last year. And when I'm Corey Borquez, as far as our punter, he came in, they brought competition in, he beat him out. And so I expect him to kind of start back where he had finished his last year as far as just punting solid, directional stuff so guys can cover it. And then lastly, it's all about the ball, controlling the ball, creating turnovers. So obviously having great ball security offensively, but then defensively, seeing guys punching at it, jump balls in the air, coming down with it, and figuring out a way to at least be +2 coming out of this game.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Zoe, great show, great insight. If you guys are not aware, this was the debut episode of the Pressures Front, Bills Weekly Show with Lorenzo Alexander and myself, JT Montgomery. The show was brought to you by Avalon Media, the ACES Foundation, and Cold Socks. Make sure you get over to ACES Foundation. Go to www.lorenzoalexander.org. Make sure you donate and check out all the great causes and great events that Lorenzo's having. Other than that, guys, football's back. We're happy we get back to some type of normalcy. Bills Mafia, even though we're not in the stands, we got to be just as supportive. We got to be loud. They can still hear you. Trust me, they can still hear you. But hey, guys, make sure you tune in next week. Same place, same time, same station. 9:30 every Thursday. We go on live. We talk about the Bills, man. To my co-host, Lorenzo Alexander, thank you, Zoe. And go Bills.
Go Bills.
TCB.